Hey, how's it going? I'm IlaGolden and welcome to Ila Reads. Taking a deep breath in, Echoe rolled herself up the entrance ramp and into the theatre's foyer. She loved everything about these buildings, whether they were grand theatre houses putting on national favourites or friendly little local theatres putting on amateur plays. She found all of them completely intoxicating. From top to bottom and filling every single one of her senses, they were a place where real theatrical magic happened. Echoe! A familiar voice rang through the foyer. Echoe, darling, please tell me you're here to save me from this mess I've gotten myself into. The voice belonged to a niece nymph who was 21 years older than Echoe, not that you could tell from looking at her. She was dressed in a flowing black pantsuit with a shawl fashioned like a skirt around her waist, the same intoxicating shade of purple as her hair. Smiling to herself, Echoe watched her race frantically over. Oh, Echoe, darling, thank goodness you're here. I was a fool, a complete and utter fool, and I need you to tell me right now that you're here to re-offer your services as my co-director. In her usually overdramatic fashion, she placed her hands over her heart and said pleadingly at Echoe, I don't know what I was thinking when I said I could direct and produce the next Heartbeat without you. I must have been high or something because I've bitten off more than I can chew. I mean, it's such a well-known and beloved musical that if I get even one tiny detail wrong, that's it. I'm finished. Career over. Justice is getting really good. Lilith? Echoe laughed lightly as she placed a reassuring hand on her arm. You had never been given the backing for this project if no one thought you could pull it off, and we both know it. You're right. She waved her arms dramatically. Of course you're right. After all, I'm the great Lilith Triumph, actor, director, producer extraordinaire. She struck a powerful pose. If anyone can pull this off, it's me. And not only will I pull it off, but it will be the best, most talked about rendition of the next Heartbeat ever staged. She let out a relief-sounding sigh. Thank you, Echoe. Darling, you always know just what to say to calm me down. But if you're not here to offer me your assistance, then why are you here? No, don't tell me. You're here looking for a venue for your next big project, right? Am I right? I'm right, aren't I? I mean, we both know I'm never wrong about these things. Actually, Lilith, I'm here to audition. Audition for what? The only person holding open auditions today is me, and... Wait, Echoe, are you here to audition for me? She shifted uncomfortably in her chair. Yeah? Oh, but darling, I thought writing a directing memorial thing. Producing too at a pinch. I didn't think you had any interest in the whole acting thing. I mean, that's why the two of us work so well together when we collaborate. You write, I act, you direct, I produce. It's magic. Yes, but I am a nymph too, you know. Acting is in my blood. But darling, just because a nymph comes from a type with a particular affinity to something doesn't mean they'll excel at it. I mean, look at the Nymphs. They all have dancing in their blood. It's a way of life for them. But that doesn't mean all of them can dance. I know, but both my parents are actors. My grandma was Echoe Andrews, and my grandpatch was the great Alonzo's sweet child, for crying out loud. Acting isn't just in my blood, it's in my family. Invoking his name, Echoe? Lilith cocked an eyebrow. If you felt so strongly about it, why have you never mentioned anything before? Honestly, she gave a heavy sigh. It all comes down to him, doesn't it? He sabotaged every opportunity in front of me to make sure I would never act whilst he was alive. Hell, the only reason I was able to have a career in this industry at all is because you agreed to take me on as an assistant. But I always told myself, as soon as that old bastard's gone, I will get myself out there and do what I've always dreamed of. So then why didn't you? Lilith studied her for a moment. I mean, the old curmudgeon has been gone for almost 3 years now. Why did you continue to wait? You weren't afraid he'd find some way to come back and stop you, did you? No, of course not. But Pico and Synth were still little, and it just didn't feel like the right time. But it feels like the right time now? Yeah. A small smile pulled at her lips. I think it does. Then, my dear darling Echoe, I shall let you audition for me. But be warned, I'm a harsh critic, even to my friends, so I will be brutally honest with you. Trust me, Lilith, I wouldn't have it any other way. Lilith made her way around to the back of Echoe's chair and began pushing her towards the larger of the rehearsal spaces at the back of the theatre. The two of them had known each other for a long time. They'd first met at one of the Sweet Charm's famous celebrity parties when Echoe was in her early teens, and Lilith was just in the process of producing and directing her first play. Despite the age difference between them, a friendship had formed, and it was one Echoe respected immensely, not just because she wouldn't be in the position she was in now without Lilith's help, but because of the genuine level of honesty and respect between the two. If Echoe could prove she was as good as she believed herself to be to the Lilith triumph, then she knew she was good. But even so, as they got closer and closer to their destination, Echoe could feel her stomach start to knot. You know, you auditioning for me might be the breath of fresh air I've been looking for right now, Lilith twittered on behind her. You have no idea the morning I've had. Nothing but silly little wisps auditioning for Anita, as if any of them had what it takes to be a leading lady. Honestly, darling, just thinking about it is enough to waver my resolve again. I can imagine. So, tell me, what part will you be auditioning for? Chancer. Oh, finally an actor who knows their limitations. No offence meant there, darling. What I mean to say is, an unknown actor should always set themselves an achievable goal by auditioning for a smaller part, but at the same time not too small a part. After all, you want to show you're realistic but confident, and if you're any good, then your talent will shine through and land you a bigger part anyway. Like it did for you? Yes, well, not everyone can audition for the smallest role in their first ever production and walk away with the leading part, darling. Her voice had a very matter-of-fact tone. But I will admit I'm probably the reason all these wisps try to punch above their weight. Does that mean I can blame you for the wisps at my next open audition? Echoe laughed, somehow put at ease by her friend's words. Darling, I thought you already did. By this point, they had entered the rehearsal space. It didn't take a genius to work out why Lilith had chosen this particular practice hall over the others available to her. From her own experience, Echoe knew just how amazing the acoustics were. If you wanted to hear exactly how good your potential actors were going to sound on the main stage, you auditioned and rehearsed them in here. Ah, Miss Triumph, there you are. An odd-looking pixie with naturally blue hair, wearing a smart pair of reading glasses, approached them. Should I call the next one in? Oh, if you must. Lilith rolled her eyes. And whilst you're at it, Kizzy, could you sort Miss Sweet Charm here out with an audition number? Sweet Charm? Her gaze narrowed on Echoe for a moment, then her nose turned up slightly. Audition numbers are the Hollows department. I know that, but I'm asking you, as a favour to me, to sort my dear friend here with an audition number. Lilith's tone attempted to be light, but was clearly edged with something. Yes, but Hollow's the one with all the forms and everything, and I really don't want to ask her for them. And I really don't want to remind you, you told me you were a professional when I hired you. She spoke through gritted teeth. I don't know what your problem with Twix is, but for the last time, drop it already, before I'm forced to get rid of one of you. And trust me, Kizzy, your childishness is doing you no favours in this one. Sorry. Everything about her expression showed the strain she was under not to roll her eyes. I'll go ask Hollow to sort out one of the forms and audition number for her. She half glanced towards Echoe. Miss Sweet Charm? Yes, Sweet Charm. Lilith appeared to ignore the expression on her assistant's face. It's a well-known name, so it shouldn't be too hard for you to remember, so if you don't mind... She made shooing motions with her hands. Right away, she nodded before hurrying along to the brown-haired tracker fairy near the rehearsal stage. New assistants? Echoe cocked an eyebrow. Betsy's on maternity and Lou finally had a break of his own. I was sad to see him leave, darling, but one can't stand in the way of another's dream. I'm afraid to admit this pair will take some getting used to. That's if they don't kill each other in the meantime. Are they that bad? Well, I definitely have my concerns about Kizzy. She's been down on Twig since day one. Poor girl's an absolute genius, but is such a soft touch she just won't stand up for herself. I'm sure Kizzy sees that as some kind of weakness she can exploit, but I wish she would just understand I need both of them. I've always had a team of assistants, you know that better than anyone, and they both have so much promise too. It would be a shame to have to let either one of them go. By this time, the tracker fairy Lilith called Twigs had reached them. Her large bird-like wings were tucked timidly behind her. Everything about her, from the length of her soft brown hair to the large doe-like quality of her eyes, suggested someone too timid to start a fight, and no doubt too weak to finish it. But Echoe was the first in line to tell you how deceiving looks could be, and had no doubt there was more to this timid girl than appearance let on. "Here, Miss Sweetcharm." Twigs handed Echoe a card with her edition number on it, and several sheets of paper, keeping her gaze lowered and away from her as she did. "I'm afraid you're pretty far down the list, so you'll be waiting for a while." "That's okay, I knew I would," Echoe smiled. "But there was no way I could have made it here any sooner. The school run can be such a nightmare in the mornings." "School run?" Twig's eyes lifted towards her, fully acknowledging her for the first time. "You really are Echoe Sweetcharm, aren't you?" "Yes, I am." Echoe found herself frowning, wondering if she should have more of an idea of who this girl in front of her was. "I'm glad." Her smile was soft, almost to the point of being creepy. "I've been hoping for this for a while, but never thought—" She cut herself off and shook her head, apparently embarrassed by whatever she was about to say. "Sorry." Her voice was soft. "You have no idea who I am, and I'm saying weird things." "From what I can tell, Twigs, you're always saying weird things." Lilith laughed, trying to restore some sense of normality to the situation. "Now, show Miss Sweetcharm to where the other actors are waiting, so she can get her forms filled in." "Of course, Miss Triumph." Twigs nodded, before half lifting her gaze back up towards Echoe. "This way." As the pianist began playing the lead-in, Echoe couldn't help but think back to the first time she'd heard this music. She couldn't have been much older than 5, and her murmur, Lexis Sweetcharm, had been playing the lead role of Anita. It was the first part she could clearly remember her murmur playing, and the one which cemented the idea of performing in this musical into her head. Unfortunately, for her and the rest of the world, the production her murmur was involved in was the last time the next heartbeat had been staged, until now. "Take a bow, it's the end of your life," she began, singing the final choral reprise of the opening number. "Show us the real you from inside. Take a bow, it's the end of your life. Don't pretend it's just the end of your life, of your life, of your life, of your life." "Beautiful, darling." Lilith gave a little applause the second she finished. "You sing like your mama, but then I already knew that. What I don't know is whether or not you can act. Twigs, it's your turn to read lines." She turned towards her assistants. "This is a Chancellor audition, so for once you'll be reading for Anita." "Yes, right." Twigs appeared to blush as she rifled through her copy of the script until she found the right part. "Are you ready, Miss Sweetcharm?" "As I'll ever be." Echoe readjusted her position on her chair as best she could and prepared herself for what was about to come. Chancellor was probably one of her favourite characters of all time. The thought she could get to play it in an actual production of The Next Heartbeat made her palms sweat with nerves. Nerves she did her best to suppress. After all, Chancellor's part was all about the timing. No, you've got it wrong. This can't be right. It isn't my time." Twigs's reading was more than a little monotone and stiff. "Isn't your time?" Echoe laughed. "You hear that, Lance? The newbie thinks it isn't her chime. If I had a thread of yarn for every time I heard somebody say that, I'd be swimming in jumpers about now." "No, but Look, newbie, everybody thinks somebody made some mistake when they first get here, but trust me, they don't make mistakes when it comes to this." "Are you sure? Maybe you could look in that book of yours and—" "Look, newbie, I mean this in the nicest possible way. You're dead. Deal with it." "Thank you, Echoe, darling." Liz smiled down at her. "That was a wonderful reading. You've certainly shown you understand the essence of the part. But I won't say anything more right now. You'll be contacted by the end of the week." "Right." Echoe nodded as she moved her chair towards the wing of the stage she'd be exiting by. "Thanks for the opportunity, Lilith. I really appreciate it." "Nonsense, darling. It was my pleasure." Her face was alight with all her usual enthusiasm. Make sure you give those darling kitties of yours big wet kisses from me when you see them. Wouldn't want them forgetting who I am now. Toodles! Waiting for her audition had taken most of the morning, and brought her into the earliest part of the afternoon, which was about what she had expected. From the theatre she made her way towards her favourite little cafe spot for lunch. After that, she would look through her weekly lineup to see what tasks she could carry out before school let out and she had to pick up the kids. Even before Nia moved out, they'd alternated who did the school runs each day. Now he no longer lived with them, Echoe always took them to school in the morning, and they alternated who picked them up after. Usually whoever it was who picked them up also gave them their evening meal. So I could probably do with a little food shopping, she mused as she made her way into the cafe. What was that, dear? The chubby little woman who ran the cafe beamed at her as she entered. Oh, nothing, Mildred. I was just thinking out loud to myself. She smiled back. She'd never been completely sure if Mildred was a pixie or an elf. After all, the woman had definite features of both. The problem was asking had already felt a little rude, so Echoe had made the decision she was probably a little of both. Crossbreed relationships were fairly commonplace. If it wasn't, she wouldn't have had Piccolo and Synth. The usual, dear? Mildred had already begun mixing her hot mocha. Please, and could I have one of your tuna sandwiches to go with it? Of course, dear. And what about one of my gooey chocolate cakes for dessert, fresh out of the oven? Oh, go on then, you always know how to tempt me, she laughed. She handed her money over to Mildred before moving herself to her favourite table. It was situated a little bit away from the others, in a bay at the window at the front of the shop. This made it perfect, not only for getting her chair comfortably under, but for watching the world walk past. Once in place, she pulled out a pen and notepad from her backpack and began compiling a list of things she needed to get into a workable shopping list. Even before Mildred had come over with her lunch, Echoe had already begun using her telekinetic powers to levitate the pad and control the pen. She had inherited her Strek-based abilities from both sides of the family, and as soon as most people heard that, they assumed it was the reason why she was so adeptly skilled with it. But anyone who'd known Echoe as a child knew the real reason her ability to control her telekinetic powers was so extraordinary. It still amazes me you can do that. Mildred nodded towards her pad as she placed the tray containing Echoe's lunch in front of her. Most Strek users I know who attempted telekinetic writing end up jotting down every single stray thought which enters their head. That's because most people haven't had the training I have. She shot Mildred one of her mysterious smiles. Echoe had discovered a long time ago there was little point telling anyone more than that. It just led to too many questions and a complete misunderstanding of a situation they were clueless about. Besides, she liked having a little air of mystery about her. One would think, with a telekinetic gift that impressive, you could use it to help you get around. Mildred tried and failed to be tactful. You know, without the chair. I like the chair. Echoe did her best not to sound too curt. Besides, the amount of Strek energy needed to keep a person of my height and build upright, never mind walking, would exhaust even someone of my skill level within minutes. You'd be on the floor, all but unconscious, before you even took your third step. Sorry. Mildred sounded a little hurt. I didn't mean. No, I'm sorry, Mildred. I didn't mean to snap at you like that. Truth is, she hesitated. Truth is, as a small child, I was encouraged to use my Strek powers to aid walking. That's why they're as strong and well-developed as they are. It's also why the doctors kept insisting on retrying the conversion therapy, even after it failed the third time. But the older I got, and the heavier my body became, it wasn't just the conversion therapy which failed. Oh, I see. I'm sorry. I really shouldn't have pried like that. It was none of my business. It's okay, Mildred. We're friends, right? No hard feelings? Mildred smiled and nodded, but the expression on her face left Echoe wondering what the old woman was really thinking. After a moment or two, another customer entered, and Mildred quickly went to serve them, leaving Echoe on her own feeling strangely heavy. Trust her to turn what should have been a relatively high-spirited afternoon into just another day. Still, there wasn't a whole lot she could do about it, so she might as well just cut her losses, eat, and focus on finishing her shopping list. Enjoyed what you've heard so far? Please consider subscribing to find out when the next part's being released. Thanks for watching. See ya!